Hey, good morning, dudes. Just gonna be going over the last chunk for you guys, just introducing the project. Now, hopefully, after you've gone through some of the coding as explorations, um, I'll also show you some examples, and hopefully, through that, you can really finalize what it is you're going to be proposing. Um, so, yeah, I mean, I have them all linked here in the schedule. So, this project for used to be called something else because it was paired more with the audio project, but I've taken the liberty of just calling it interactives. A lot of people would argue that interactives is not really a term. Um, However, I did utilize my thesis, my written thesis, as an excuse in there to use the word interactives, kind of coin it, if you will. Not that my writing has any influence on the world, but it's official, right? So, um, you could say sculptures, and you're referring to multiple sculptures. So this doesn't quite follow suit, but it's the style of work I do, so I thought it'd be nice. So make sure you get your proposals in by the end of the weekend. So this is going to be primarily an exploration of interaction, and you're able to pair sound with that. So the approach you can take is, again, really anything that you want. However, I will say that it's best to come up with a structure and decide if you're going to be doing abstract or kind of based on a system. Like on Monday, we're going to be going over using scenes, kind of like structuring out scenes. So you could think of different backgrounds to kind of categorize where you're at in in a book, so to speak, right? Like a page based system. So it's really up to you to figure out what it is you want to shoot for. Um, and I'll let you guys read the majority of this stuff. So let me cover the sound or the processing, and then I'll come back to the sound. So you will have to use vector objects even if you're doing something visual. You'll still need to do something with vectors, just as that experience showing that you've got it under control. Um, and it has to be kind of changing, updating over time. So your project needs to be active, right? It can't be just completely static. You'll need to comment your code. And I thought it was more in this page, so let me go back up here. I guess I will read the assignment here. Sorry. A lot of my project pages, there's a lot of intro. So, avoid using a simple narrative. Um, I'd like for you guys to think more of an abstract experience, and I know that a lot of you have already taken coding classes, so especially you guys want to be utilizing object orientation, and I'd be just exploring what you can do um, with vectors, right? And what kind of experience can you make, and base that experience off of um, some kind of interesting scenario with code. I think that it was in the past a lot of my projects are image based, and it's primarily based because my second part of the the exercise here is going to be like page based. So that being said, in the past I really focused on teaching art students and more visually. Now since we're thinking about being media students, how can you take that different approach with that little bit of background of code? So, thinking in terms of like poetry with your code. We will be able to perform with that. So, be thinking about interactive input, how all these different factors can play into it. Yeah, I think it's primarily through giving you guys some examples of other projects. So you could totally borrow any other code that you want. In the past, it's been a little easier to borrow code from my previous students because it was consistently through processing. However, now that I'm transitioning to P5 with you guys, it won't be direct. The code won't be directly the same. So a lot of like the technical stuff might not work smoothly, especially like object orientation, but you can reference some of them in terms of seeing how the code is structured. So I'll go over a couple of those just so you can see how they open, but then just giving you examples of the projects. And so you could borrow whatever you want. However, a majority of the code needs to be your own. It should be different from the original. If it's stuff you got online, you need to be citing where you got that original code. So if you don't cite it, you're not gonna, you're not gonna score well in my mind. Like, oh, you're just copying code. How do I know it's different, right? Let's also see. You'll need to comment and fully understand your code. So as you go along, structuring like what things are doing. So not only myself, but other of you in class, if you look at each other's code, you can know what's going on. And then down the road, if you open this up later on, you can still know what's going on, right? You've saved notes in the sketch. The audio chunk, you want to use a variety of different sound files. I would be thinking a little bit about stereo as well. Not that this is a requirement, but I will be grading these with headphones on. And so if you're focusing on like user experience, right, say that in your statement, right? You're trying to do this with audio in terms of the relation to the interaction. And anything that's more interactive, or sorry, how should I phrase this? If you're building a stereo experience, you're also enhancing that interaction, right? I guess I could have just read. Let's see. You just don't want to have any audio that's peaking before you bring it in, just so you know that it's not going to sound garbled in here. And so yeah, the sounds can be like background sounds, or we also should have some sorts of sounds based on interaction. So if we're clicking on something, or how are we getting that validation that we're interacting with things? We use audio to that advantage. So at the end of the semester, the last week, we will be presenting. It's fairly short. It leaves time up, so you'll be covering your code, and then it leaves time for a bunch of us to kind of walk through, play with it, ask some questions, and then move on. So we will take 2 days for that, and then that should be kind of like final stages of your code, mainly built out. And then we will be submitting it like the following week. So that should be about it. Oh, I did put this in here. If you guys make a really awesome project and it's hosted on the website, P5 is accepting submissions to host right on their their splash page. So this is a pretty awesome bonus here. You're not really having to pay anything to submit. A lot of stuff after school, you have to go out and applications for things cost money. So this is kind of nice being able to be featured. You could put that on your resume, right? Featured coding work on this website. So it's kind of a nice little thing. So I will note here. Maybe I shouldn't have minimized that. I will note that the past student projects, there's no P5 yet. Obviously, this is the first semester, so you always can go through examples. There is this showcase stuff as well, so you can go through and view different projects people have done, and see what those entail. However, I did start recording some of my past student projects for you guys. I thought I was going to get through more than I did, but I realized that all my files are everywhere. Like after the semester ends, I've been kind of just like, all right, everything's done, instead of organizing. So I don't have as much put together as I thought I would have. So I'll leave these for you guys to watch on your own. And I'll kind of go over some of the zipped files. So there's a lot of them here, and there's even a few more that probably should be in here. So I'll have to start weeding stuff out and reorganizing how I have this. But I did download a few to kind of give you reference. And these ones exclusively are media studies students. So you can get a sense of how their work is differing. And by me opening this up and processing, you can kind of get a visual of how you might, like if you wanted to go and check out anything else. So firstly, you just unzip it. It gives you a folder. This is their master project folder. Inside of here, all we're looking for is the PDE. It's a processing file. She has multiple of them, which you can have. Even with P5, you could have multiple files in there. We're just looking for the main one. So we just open that up. You do have to obviously have processing installed. So I would assume a lot of you might even just skip to this. But and then once you have it installed, you just hit play the same way that we would online. The code is slightly different. We do have to install libraries to use audio files, right? The audio is called in a different way. We have void instead of function. So there's a couple differences, but primarily the setup is the same. So it could be helpful to look that stuff over. So I'm just gonna kind of dive into them here. I think I gotta use my computer audio through my microphone. Took a second. So this is kind of like a throwback, nostalgic kind of project where we're able to play VHSs. So you have to turn the TV on, and I will note that there's no interactive element, sound effect or anything. So it's a little hard to know that you have to do that. But then we could put in different tapes.
It's excitement plus. The retail, I love this. At $300, I am absolutely in love with this ring.
And then you can fast forward.
And I really want to stress, I once was a living organism.
You can eject it. Put in another tape.
An epidemic of ritual crime has swept our nation at an alarming rate. Well-organized satanic groups are creating a reign of death and destruction, which...
So pretty fun stuff. It gets pretty kind of technical building it out, but you know, you just kind of, we go through a couple of consultations and review what a good approach is. Frank, this one's a really good one for reference for those of you who who have worked with code. Yep. So this is an exploration of audio through a combination to I don't know, visual audio kind of connection. And I'm pretty sure we're just basing this off of various keys. Yes. So I don't know, I don't remember what all keys they are. Looks like almost any key. So I'm just gonna hit random keys. So this is the same key over and over. And then I'll switch here. This is R. This is 0. This is all numbers right here. I'm going to go from 1 to 0, or 1 through 9 to 0. So all the lower keys, like Z, X, C, V, right, these are all high pitch. Then we get into A, S, D, F, a little bit lower. The Q, W, E, R, lower, and then the numbers even lower. Let's go from bottom to top. So it's just like an exploration, right? It's very well mapped out. And he did base it with audio, like audio theory or music theory. And then Justin's here. This is also kind of like a nice little abstraction. I think, oh, I forgot. I've had him in 2 classes. So this was his first one with me with processing. Then he did do a P5 project later. I will say that all my students that did P5 projects in the past with DMS 110, they're all pretty extensive because they've had, you know, a lot longer to work on them. So this is the last one I'll show you guys. So we can choose the human or the alien. Then we have these different choices for food we can choose. So if we drink more than one beer, or maybe it's 3. Yeah, I kind of get like a throw up in there, even though it repeats. And then if you could go back to the ship, or you can go back to the house, right? And then the alien has the same kind of stuff with different sound effects. So it's kind of based on that structure of a page base, right? 2 different scenes, but then we get to explore from there. So hopefully some of this is helpful. As I said, you guys can check out a few more of these recordings that I posted. And then obviously you have a bunch more things to check out online. And we will go over things on Monday, so be prepared to ask some questions. Yeah, so if anybody has follow-up questions this weekend before proposals are due, assuming that you've went through, read the book, went over the tutorial, listened to the, did all the content. If you still have questions, make sure you shoot me an email. Maybe we can have a phone call or whatever to cover whatever your questions are. All right, cool. See you guys on Monday.